Yeah, I
But,
know.
like,
It's a good time for like weather to happen, right?
I guess, but like I go to put my phone in the charger along with my other two phones.
You have 3 phones?
Well, no, I've just got like my old, I got a new phone over the weekend because my old one was fucking up, but I haven't taken the SIM card out of the old one yet and put it in the new one. So the new one was sitting there charging, and then my iPhone was there, and then the one that I'm using, I go to plug that in. Fucking puddles of water on the bedside table.
What? What happened?
It was just coming in through the screen. Like I guess the wind was blowing in the right
Oh,
direction.
you left your window open, did you, huh?
Well, yeah, but like you'd never think that there'd be water that would come in that way, and so fucking bedside tables were soaked, fucking couch was soaked, fucking everything was fucking soaked. It fucking sucks.
So all your towels are in the dryer now, is what you're saying?
Kinda, sorta, yeah. I probably listened to that speech 3 or 4 times. We talked about it on the show yesterday, and it doesn't all get me, but the part where she mentions the girls of today growing up to be the women of tomorrow in a different way, I can't. Regardless,
look, I would totally vote for her, but it would give the orange guy a double-decker for sure, guaranteed.
It would give the orange guy a double-decker?
Yeah. Because it's just too... I think it just wouldn't fly, man. And it would just guarantee the orange fellow a double-decker.
You think Trump could beat Oprah?
I think so.
You think Trump would beat Oprah?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'd be a match for sure. I'm not sure how it would go down, but
I don't know, man. Here's the thing about Oprah. Here's the thing about Trump. If you recall, look, there's all sorts of statistics that you can slice and dice. The exit polls from all sorts of different publications and organizations were extensive after Donald Trump got elected because everyone was like, what the hell happened? But I don't know if you remember, we discussed it extensively on the show. I can't remember if it was the New York Times or the Washington Post, but some distinctly liberal-leaning papers basically proved to me, and I'm guessing to you as well if we had this conversation together, that what won Donald Trump the election was minorities. It was minorities. It was the very poor. And now, look, the vast majority of minorities and the very poor voted Democrat, as they often do. But Donald Trump, with his "hey, you've been forgotten and I remember you" shtick, was able to coax the tip of the iceberg over onto his side. And that's basically the tip of the iceberg that won him the election. There's no way he holds on to those people if Oprah Winfrey runs, I think. We'll discuss all this next. And Oprah could probably steamroll through this thing if she wasn't beholden to one party, I think. Don't you think? I mean, Democrats would vote for her almost immediately, instantly, if not sooner, because they would feel like she's their candidate. And Republicans, if they felt like she wasn't necessarily a Democrat, I think she would grab a lot of people. Yep, that's what I think.
Yeah, me too. I think there's a place in the middle. I think she'd get a lot of crossover, Yeah, she's good for both parties.
I think if she really wants to win, she'd do so as an independent. Now, that's a really kind of like... That's a statement that requires a lot of research to back up and a lot of time and a lot of things to happen. And first and foremost, we have to know if Oprah's interested in running for president at all. I still think, I kind of hope she doesn't, because like, here's the thing. People that really stand for something and represent something positive without tearing something down, without making enemies, but people who can stand in a singular way and make everybody feel welcome. I think in a lot of ways, Oprah would be a lot more valuable if she wasn't running for elected office and if she wasn't beholden to the politics of one party. I think if you can be, and look, I'm not a huge Oprah fan. I don't necessarily buy into the hype the way a lot of other people do, but I do recognize that she is a tremendously positive influence in millions of people's lives. And if you can be a positive influence in millions of people's lives, I think polluting that with politics is almost a bad idea. So who knows? She's clearly got a political voice. People want her to run. And in the past, if she'd said, I want to affect politics and I want to affect policy and I want to be a part of our American political process, I don't know if it would have been welcomed. People have gone like, you're a TV personality. Pre-Donald Trump getting elected, that seems, that would have been met with a large amount of incredulity. However, now people want her to get into the arena. really badly. And I think she could be way more useful and way more positive if she doesn't kind of like destroy the goodwill that goes with her by aligning herself with a party and running for president. That's what I think. I think she can do a lot of good and obviously has done tremendous amounts of good, but I think she's at a point where she could do a great amount of good by not running, but by having a voice that people clearly want to listen to. And like I said, I don't think she's as liberals think she is or would like to think she is. President Trump might not be as conservative as a lot of his supporters wish he was, at least based on the Bill of Love he called for. Did you hear about this, Funkhouser?
No.
Did you hear about the Bill of Love?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, the Bill of Love?
The Bill of Love. President Trump met with a bipartisan group of Congress members at the White House yesterday, very recently, in an effort to basically revive stalled talks over immigration. He wants to build a wall, but he also wants lawmakers to pass what he's calling a bill of love to protect undocumented immigrants from deportation. He said that, hold on. Who wrote this? This is an interesting one. I think this is from the Washington Post, but it says here, Trump expressed confidence that a deal over the fate of the Dreamers, immigrants who arrived in the country illegally as children, was within reach ahead of a March 5th deadline he set before work permits issued under an Obama-era program, nearly 700,000, begin to expire en masse. The president reiterated his demands for border wall funding and curbs to some legal immigration programs, but he said he would defer to lawmakers to hammer out the details and sign whatever bill they put in front of him. He said, I really do believe Democrat and Republican, the people sitting in this room, really want to get something done. My position is going to be what the people in this room come up with. I have a lot of respect for people on both sides. What I approve will be very much reliant on what people in this room come to me with. If they come to me with things I'm not in love with, I'm going to do it. There you go. So he wants a bill of love to protect dreamers, kids who came here, people who came here as kids who are on the verge of getting kicked out. Make of that what you will. I'm sure that's a wildly unpopular move among a lot of his supporters. So we'll see how that one plays out. He said last year he brought us prosperity. I don't know. Do you feel any more prosperous, Funkhouser?
No.
No. Yeah, I'm still living right up to the hilt in a cheap car in a tiny place and struggling to make it every single month. So, I don't necessarily feel the prosperity he has brought us has really fully kicked in, at least for me yet. Maybe you have a completely different take on the situation. But nevertheless, Donald Trump said last year, and look, you can't deny the fact that the stock markets have been surging and there's very positive economic indicators and it's going to be easier to do business here because of the tax cuts. And, that might be all short-term stuff. But there are numerous economic indicators that were on the way up. That's the idea. That's a long conversation and a long debate that we won't get into today. But Donald Trump said, I took care of prosperity last year. This year, I'm going to take care of peace. So maybe he was starting phase 2. I mean, like, it's a big dance to this dude. And I think that, maybe he sort of was tough last year. And this year he's going to be the loving president. He's like a chameleon. He knows how to change to appease the people in front of him to keep them supportive of him for the next 10 minutes. So if what he senses is that the crowd want a kinder, gentler, more compassionate President Donald Trump, then he's going to, at least from all outward intents and purposes, give us that. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, the president wants a bill of love. Make of that what you will. So, have you heard about this guy, James Damore or Damore? Do you know this guy?
No, who's that now?
He is the guy who's suing Google for discriminating. Discriminating. He's discriminating. He's the guy who's suing Google for allegedly discriminating against white conservative men. And we'll get into his story.
Whoa,
his
man.
Deal.
Whoa.
Well, yeah, I know. We'll get into his deal a little later. Meanwhile, I think Google are being sued for not being inclusive enough as well. That Google can't win. Well, actually, they win like pretty much every single day. They know everything we do, and they have all they have all the money. So Google are winning just fine. But nevertheless, from an optics point of view, they're having a hard time winning. We'll get into that later. Right now, though, let's take a look at what's going on in the world. Funkhouser, let's do some news.
Okay. You have all the new news, though, with all that stuff that I don't know about, but that's okay. Insiders say Oprah is actively considering a White House run.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. some political pundits have actually been throwing the G word around. They haven't said she's a stable genius, but some people have been saying that Oprah is a genius, perhaps a political genius. Before we go ahead and declare her a genius, maybe we should just stop and take a moment and remember that Oprah is the one who gave us Dr. Phil. Go on.
Yeah, I can't condone such things, but I tell you one thing, it's a good 58 minutes of trash television.
I wonder if Oprah gets, if Oprah becomes president of these United States of America, does Dr. Phil become sort of like Secretary of Medicine or something like that?
Oh boy, what a world that would be. Let's not find out.
Go on.
Gwyneth Paltrow is engaged.
Yeah, I saw that. If you want to pick her up a gift, she's registered at Bed Bath & Beyond Annoying. Go on.
Jimmy Page turned 74 today. Happy birthday.
Who would have thought? Or more accurately, I bet Jimmy Page wouldn't have thought when he was in his 20s and 30s being in Led Zeppelin. I'm sure he didn't think, in like 40, 50 years, when I'm almost 75 years old, people are still going to be clamoring for me to go on stage and play my guitar. Like, Richard Branson has offered untold billions of dollars if Jimmy Page gets together with Robert Plant and they go on a Led Zeppelin reunion tour. It would be the biggest money-spinning tour probably in the history of money-spinning tours. And do you think Jimmy Page could have pictured that? There's no way you can picture that, right? That, at age 75, you still have diehard fans around the world. Yeah. I mean, even if you were out to be the biggest rock band in the world, and, there's lots of bands that do that, but there's no way you could foresee that. It's really incredible what they've created. But yeah, Jimmy Page, happy birthday, 74 years old, which means these days when he rambles on, it's mostly about the thermostat being too low, everything on TV being garbage these days, and how those kids won't stay the hell off of his lawn. Go on.
Hike up your skirt a little more and show the world to me.
Oh, God.
Dave Matthews turns 51 today.
51 years old? I never got that. Like, I always liked... You got to understand something about...
There's a huge corner in there for Dave
murder.
Fans. Yeah.
You got to understand, Dave Matthews' musicians, the people in his band are just unfreaking real. Like, his players, that drummer of his, Carter, unconscionably good at playing the drums. He's just, like, ridiculous. And that's why I sort of got into the Dave Matthews Band. But, like, I never kind of understood his vocal delivery. I mean, sort of gazillions of albums sold. I'm sure he doesn't care that I never really was able to get into the Trippin' Billies or whatever the hell it is he does. But yeah, Dave Matthews, 51 years old today, which means he's officially old enough to be a Dave Matthews fan now. Go on.
I didn't know he was that young. Wow. Angelina Jolie and Jennifer Aniston attended the same Golden Globes party.
They were both at the Golden Globes. I wonder if they had handlers run interference between them on the red carpet. Was Brad Pitt there too? Did Brad Pitt show up, or was he?
I don't think so. Was he in any movie?
Would you go to a party where you knew both of your exes would be? Probably not. So he was probably on urgent business anywhere he could find it.
Unless my future wife was at the party.
Yeah, you never know. Oh gosh, yeah. Tension so thick you could cut it with Reese Witherspoon's chin.
You think there's tension? Do you really think they care?
I don't know. I wonder if they, like, behind the scenes got together and be like, yeah, what a jerk he is. Like, I wonder if they're consoling themselves. Like, do exes do that? Do you ever find out your exes have been talking to each other about, how great it is to not be with you anymore? Like, do you ever have that happen to you, Funkhouser?
No, man. They don't know each other. No, my paths never cross. I'm not that kind of dater.
Good. I think that's probably a smart way to go.
That's scary, man.
Life.
That's like a Friends episode,
Right. Or it's like, Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, and Jennifer Aniston's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers announced a co-headlining U.S. tour this summer.
Yeah, Steely Dan going out on the road without Walter Becker. Like, if you're a Steely Dan fan, you know this, but Steely Dan is Donald Fagen and Walter Becker, and Walter Becker sadly passed away. Steely Dan, one of my favorite bands. I learned how to play drums playing along to my dad's Steely Dan albums in the garage. And
you can play drums? Again, that's cool.
We've never had this conversation?
I don't think so. Not about drums.
I got a scholarship to New England Conservatory of Music to be a jazz and classical percussion major. And disappointed my parents when I did not go, because I was also offered a record deal for my screaming punk rock band at the time. I was like, dorm room or tour bus? I believe, being the teenager I am taking the tour bus. So no, I was supposed to be this jazz, like, I think my mom still regrets it to this day. I mean, what's really cool is I've actually gotten to do some work with symphonies recently. Like, I'm doing some stuff with the San Diego Symphony. I've gotten to work with classical music. There's this whole big
Are
it's
you
about
playing
time
or
thing.
what?
No, gosh, no. I mean, like, these guys are real musicians. Like, you got to go to the music school and then you got to practice for 8 hours a day for the next 8 years to get a job at symphonies like this one. And then you have to practice regularly to maintain your stuff. When I sit down at a kit of drums now, I'm great for about 2 seconds, and then all my limbs atrophy, and I just sound like a mess, because there's just certain muscles that you don't use for anything else than playing drums, and if you don't use them, you absolutely lose them. But no, I'm really, really stoked I'm doing this stuff with the San Diego Symphony. But what's interesting is the whole thing with this festival. It's called It's About Time. It runs from January 11th to February 11th in and around San Diego. And what's cool is they're doing it at, like, the Symphony Hall. They're doing it at places like, there's this rock club called the Music Box where they're doing it. They're doing it at colleges and theaters and all over the place. But I got to hang out with the percussion section of the San Diego Symphony, and all of them went to New England Conservatory of Music, where I was going to go. And it was an interesting moment where I was like, there, but for the grace of God, go I. That was interesting stuff. So you and I will discuss the man who is suing Google for not being inclusive enough a little later on in the show. It's a twist on the old accusation of not being inclusive enough, though. He says they discriminated against him, and he is a white conservative male. He says Google discriminate against white conservative males, and he's going after him for it for quite a large sum of money. This was the guy that was fired for circulating the memo about women. Well, we'll get into it all later, what he said in that memo. What else is going on in the news, Funkhouser?
Her pinkness. Pink. I've heard people call her that. Pink will sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl.
So, if you're a fan of Pink and football, you're lying. This is not a thing. Not a big fan of the music of Pink. Like, I would never go, I got the new Pink CD. I can't wait to rock it in my car. Like, that's never, ever been a thing for me. But infinite amounts of respect for her. Because, A, she can really, really sing. B, she was part of that Lady Marmalade remake, which included the immortal line, You score major points for me there. And I also saw her this past summer just gone by. And A, sings her ass off live. B, kicks ass. Like, it's a great show. C, will entertain her audience at all costs. She's like flying around. She does that thing where she's on those wires, and she sort of like zooms around
at all
arena.
Costs. You mean like Tovlo at all costs? Because that's different.
What you mean? Tovlo is the one that gets her boobs out while she sings, right?
I think so. Yeah.
These are just boobs. They should be, they shouldn't be such a big deal.
Yeah. Now, if Pink went all out, then I'd be all about it. But
I'm just sorry. I'm thinking of Tovlo's boobs. I've seen pictures of them, and I can't remember if I liked them or not.
I think I don't know. You had a nice quote off the air about it. I don't know if I could say it on the air, though. You said something about it being like an anatomy lesson. No, you're right. It completely desexualizes boobs, which I think is the point. But, I like my boobs sexy because, that's just me. And I'm not objectifying women. I've just always been attracted to those. They're fantastic. I love them. They're wonderful. But when displayed in the manner in which Tovlo likes to display her female chest ornaments, it takes on a distinctly anatomical feel, where you feel more like you're in biology class and less like you're going, oh, look at that, check that out. I don't agree with you, but I see where you're coming from. How about that? So you like them? Uh-huh. Well, I mean, also, like, are you into the music of Tovlo? Because I'm not. It's all right. There's a time and a place for every type of music, I think, and there's a time and a place for that. Yeah. And it's when her boobs are out. There was a small fire at Trump Tower yesterday morning.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Man, Hillary sure holds a grudge. Or perhaps it was his pants igniting after he called himself a stable genius. Well, we never talked about that. What do you make of the whole stable genius situation?
Man, I don't know. I've hung out with too many people that are like him to think that it's to believe that it's all real. I think there's...
I know.
You know, there's just too much showman going on here. There's too many bells and whistles. You know, why are we bothered with all this stuff? There's other things going on that isn't that we aren't being affected by because we're being, you know, the news is being bullied around like they're not.
Well, it's that Fire and Fury book that raised the question of, is he mentally fit to be in office, and said that the vast majority of the people that have worked with him weren't necessarily
and
sure.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to sound like Jesse Ventura here and say that it's a little government operation. This book come out. I think
wow, that's
connected.
Oh,
I think
that's very Alex Jones of you.
No, it's Jesse Ventura. Yeah,
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Montana governor. Oh,
Minnesota,
right.
People from the state of Minnesota.
Everyone up here sounds about the same, but
so
I think it's an inside gig.
Really? Like, how do you... Okay, can't open worms everywhere. How much time do we have left? Because I want to hear this, but I also want to talk about the guy that's suing Google. But what is the point of this conspiracy? Do you think it's distraction?
I don't know. I think it's strategically timed, and we're too close to the timeline right now to be able to see it with a clear view. But in hindsight, it's all going to add up. I think that it's all connected. And
you think with the benefit of distance and perspective and time, we're going to see that the whole Fire and Fury book / feud with Steve Bannon was just a distracting tactic?
Yeah, the news is saying like they're going to be friends, like Bannon and Trump are going to be friends again. Everyone's speculating they're going to be buddies after all that.
I think it's
like,
really
listen, they were going to be buddies from the beginning. They never broke up. It's like a Hollywood relationship that was fake to begin with. Let's break up so that we get so everyone looks at it, so they're not paying attention to how bad our movie is doing in the box office.
I think you could actually I think you could really I think it's very easy to get back into Donald Trump's good graces. I think he lives minute to minute. And
well, sure, but that's not related to what I'm saying. I'm saying that
yeah,
it was
but like
planned.
if you are his enemy, like if you are like, this is playing devil's advocate, you know, you're saying it's a little too convenient that him and Bannon are now buddy again. I think all you got to do, you could tell Trump that he's an evil idiot that hates America and he's destined to destroy the world because he's so freaking stupid, and he would go after you with everything he's got. But then if you go, you know what, I've seen the error of my ways. You are in fact an unbelievably stable genius, and he'll say he was very nice to me. We've managed to become friends again. Like, that's the thing. I think it's easy to get him to back down because you just say, you're great. You're freaking great. I was wrong. You were right. You're smart. I'm stupid. And he'll immediately welcome you back with open arms. I get the sense that Donald Trump in that way is, it's easy to get back into his good graces, and therefore maybe a little bit easy for someone like Bannon to manipulate him. Oh, the plot just thickened. Right.
Okay. Hop on. There's plenty of room on this conspiracy boat. Let's go right to the middle of the ocean.
Go on.
Pope Francis says mothers are free to breastfeed in the Sistine Chapel.
Ah, yeah. Tovlo will be right at home there. And then in a bit of a shocker, he added hashtag Oprah 2020. Go on.
Chris Christie said he would have been elected president if Donald Trump hadn't entered the race.
Oh, really? Is that what he said?
Uh-huh.
He said, in a related story, a new study found that people who eat their body weight in Twinkies become seriously delusional as well. No. You know who I actually think about over and over again, who I really kind of wish had won? And this may be completely naive on my part, but I wish Marco Rubio had won.
Really?
Yeah. Marco Rubio, to me, is the political one that got away. Because I really...
I mean, look, he had a lot of good ideas.
If you know me, you know I don't play party politics. I don't swear allegiance to any particular political party. And I think about a person, and I think about their take on policy, and I think about who they are and how they go through the world. I don't think about what wildly outdated misnomer they stamp on themselves when they say that they're running for some elected office. But I just got a good vibe off of Marco Rubio, and I don't know him, and I'm sure there's people listening in Florida where we're on. They're like, you're out of your mind. Marco Rubio's a giant scumbag. No. You got to know this, and this about him. But he just keeps popping up in the back of my mind where I'm like, what would Marco Rubio have done? Because he had that thing going for him.
Because he's from Florida? Is that why you like him?
No. It was because he genuinely seemed to care about people. And because he seemed to operate from a place of caring about people, not from a place of, I'm going to dominate you so you don't dominate me. You know, he was pointed. He was aggressive in debates. He was the one that he tried. Man, his downfall was he tried playing Donald Trump's game. He was the one who came up with, like, you got small hands there. And Donald Trump absolutely destroyed him. He took a swing playing Donald Trump's game. And Donald Trump was like, I do this so much better than you. I'm able to sort of operate in this way with complete autonomy. Nobody expects better from me. So I'm just going to play dirty like you wouldn't believe and destroy you. And he did. But I just, I got the vibe that Marco Rubio cared about people and operated from a place of caring about people as opposed to all the other nonsense that was going on during the primaries this past couple of years gone by. All right, go on.
One more before we get into the Google guy. Bama, rolling tide. Alabama was named one of the 10 worst states to raise a family. Good football team, though, right?
I've been to Alabama before. It's awesome. I loved it. My step-grandmother was from Alabama. I had a great time in Alabama.
What's their football team?
I don't know.
I think it's college.
Football. Yeah, no, it's college football. The roll tide thing is college. And
Isn't it the Gators? I think it might be the Gators.
No, that's Florida.
Oh.
There's people who are driving in from Gainesville right now to kick your ass, Funkhouser.
Sorry, man. I don't know. I'm not a Gator.
But yeah, I've been to Alabama a bunch. It was great. The people were great. The barbecue's fantastic. But Alabama was named one of the 10 worst states to raise a family.
Yeah.
Probably because Alabama parents have to constantly make sure that Roy Moore isn't at the playground following their daughters. But once that goes away, I'm sure it'll be considered a lovely place. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get into this, shall we? So, James Damore, he was this guy that wrote this rather controversial memo that in August sort of shot through Google like you wouldn't believe. He's suing the company. He's alleging that white male conservatives are systematically discriminated against by Google. He was fired. He was an engineer. He's a Google engineer. And he was fired as an engineer after this manifesto that he circulated suggested that, it questioned diversity. It questioned the benefits of diversity programs, and it suggested that women may be biologically inferior engineers, and it was passed around the company. In this lawsuit, he and another fired engineer say that employees who express views deviating from the majority view at Google on political subjects raised in the workplace and relevant to Google's employment policies and its business, such as diversity hiring policies, bias sensitivity, or social justice, were and are singled out, mistreated, and systematically punished and terminated from Google in violation of their legal rights. He's a smart guy. He's an engineer that got hired by Google. He's a smart guy. So how is he in any way, shape, or form surprised that, A, you can't get away with saying that women are biologically inferior to men? And B, how is he surprised that he's fired? Freaking bananas. Like, when you write these things down and circulate them around the company, they're going to get read. And when people figure out it was you that wrote them, it's not going to go well for you, right? You can't. You can't say that women are biologically inferior as engineers. What the hell were you thinking, you moron? If we're talking about a sense of biological inferiority, I would imagine your complex has to be a large one, because that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Attorneys for Darmore and the other engineer, this guy, David Goodman, filed the lawsuit in California's Santa Clara Superior Court, and they're seeking to represent others whose rights they claim were also violated, specifically the company's conservative white men. Now, here's the thing. It does swing both ways. You can be punished for your political views. You can be made to feel unsafe. You can be made to feel not one of the gang. You can be made to feel ostracized. You can be made to feel like people are trying to get rid of you because they don't agree with your politics. whether you're in a place that is primarily left-leaning or primarily right-leaning. It works both ways. But to act as though you're surprised when you circulate a memo saying women suck and men rule is unsurprising, to say the least. Meanwhile, Google are fighting back at claims that women at the company have been systematically underpaid as well. So Google can't win, except for the fact that they've got all the money and they'll be just fine.